Hi everyone, it's Jen. Wanted to continue with the unexplainables that came through for the nurse while I was getting an ultrasound done. And she had already experienced the understanding that unexplainables existed by receiving the nickname of a childhood friend who had died playing Russian roulette, which led to her being able to know that it was her grandmother coming through by acknowledging that the grandmother was a mother figure, and that she was the matriarch of the family, and that her name was Betty. So I've already talked about all that under Hey Hey and gosh, what was the other name? Sorry, it's escaping me. I'll put it under descriptions. And so then she was kind of quiet as she was processing everything. Some people, when they experience these unexplainables, they'll talk a lot or they'll get really introspective. So she was quiet, and there I am back being the patient as she's looking at her monitor for the ultrasound. And then all of a sudden, I get a sense that the grandmother Betty slipped her arms into mine, sort of like putting on a medical gown, even though I wasn't in one. And then she wanted to embrace her granddaughter. And I am exposed, my midriff is exposed, and I am laying down. And so I just immediately said out loud, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. First of all, does she even want a hug?" So I explained to the nurse what was happening and then asked, "Do you even want a hug? Because if you do, then I need to, after we finish up, we need to clean the goop off of me." And I put my clothes just on the proper way instead of, I should unfurl my clothes so that all of me is covered up. And when I asked her if she even wanted a hug, she just nodded without saying any words, meaning yes, she did. So she cleaned me up. We were done, and she cleaned me up and cleaned up, the midriff area from the goop. And then when I was dressed, I said, "Okay, you ready for your hug?" And it was like on cue. The grandmother, Betty, just slipped her arms into mine. And usually when two women hug, one, if they're on equal terms, then we would put our right, one arm above and one arm below, so that each one has an upper arm and one has a lower arm. But Grandma Betty did not want this. She quickly changed it to both arms on top. And being a mother myself, I'm very familiar with that. You do that to your children. And oh gosh, the nurse just took it in, and just, you could tell she was crying. I could tell by her vibration. She was not crying out loud, but she was moving. Her body was trembling in the motion of crying. And she was there for a long time, just being hugged by her grandmother. And it was great because I felt like I usually do, like I'm in the back left corner of my physical body, so that it really is between the two of them. And then this is the part that's kind of funny. My right arm, I said the because it wasn't my arm, but the right arm went up as if ready to touch the nurse's hair. And all that came back in my mind's movie is of a white male comic saying, "No, you never touch a black woman's hair." And being not being black, I never understood the reason. I just knew that you don't touch a black woman's hair, given what just popped up in my mind's movie. So I pulled my hand back and I said it out loud. I said, "Nope, she wants to hug you, and I know not to touch a black woman's hair." And she smiled knowingly. Every black person who listens to this story smiles. Every white person is clueless to this, but the way I was. And she smiles and she said, well, that's because we normally put product in our hair or wear weaves, and if you touch it, you would mess up a lot of hard work. But she explained that since her hair was short cropped, it was dyed golden color, but it was short cropped. She said it was perfectly fine to touch her hair. And so we got back into the mode where the grandmother Betty slipped her arms in to mine, and then sure enough, she put her arm, her hand, which was my hand, on top of the nurse's head, and then gently put it towards the bosom, which is my bosom, and I do not use that word, so I believe that Grandma Betty would use that word. And she put her to her bosom the way a mother would, and the nurse just totally allowed it and really allowed herself to be with the tears and hugging a dead one again. And it was so emotional. I was touched. I'm getting choked up right now. It was just so special to have the two of them be able to really, yep, my tears are flowing, to have them hug each other again, you know, because you think you can't hug a loved one, and you can. And anyhow, it was really special because the two got to hug each other. And I guess there's one more part after this, and I'll make that a separate one. Thank you for listening. Lots of love to you. May you feel the love from those that have departed.